Okay, hey, let's continue wrapping up our shopping cart example. So far we've added a few styles. You probably added some more styles of your own. This is what I have so far. I'm going to try and make it look kind of like this, right? So kind of a nice look is to have some space around the inputs, and I want to make the inputs look kind of nice, right? So these inputs are kind of crowded, like the text goes right up to the line, right? So let's style the inputs next. I'll add a new style for input, right? We can just style them all. If we had other kinds of inputs like checkboxes and radio buttons, we might want to style it differently or set up a different rule for them. But what I think I'll do is I'll just style all the inputs, and I'll say you guys are all going to be padding 1M. So that should be 16 pixels, right? And then I'll say font size 1M. Maybe that's a little too big. I kind of like that, but it's maybe a little too big. Maybe I'll do padding of 1/2 M. Yeah, that looks pretty good, right? And now let's do the border, right? So I'll say border 1 pixel solid like this. And that doesn't look too bad. And maybe I'll do a border radius of 0.25 ems. I don't know, something like that, right? So now I'll have like a little bit of a rounded corner. Let's style these buttons too. So I kind of want the buttons to have a very similar style to the input. So actually maybe they can borrow these styles. So I'll just put a comma here. This is the group selector. So everything applies to this selector, and everything inside here applies to the second selector also, right? And you can have as many of these, as many commas as you like in there. Oh, so that doesn't look too bad. A little better, maybe this background color isn't good. Let's style the button, give them a little bit of a style to all their own. So maybe I'll do button, maybe I'll make these look a little different. I'll say background color is black, but that means the text will have to be a different color. So I'll make it color, and that's the text color, right? Will be white. This won't be a super fancy style, but it'll look okay. That doesn't look too bad, right? Maybe a little too strong, but I think that's all right. Maybe these are a little too narrow, so let's give them a bit of a width, right? Let's say these guys should have a minimum width of 3 ems. That's not too bad, right? Maybe that's a little too wide. Let's make them like 2 ems, right? So here, these can be wider because they're wider than 2 ems, but these two buttons right here are narrower than 2 ems, so they have to have a minimum width of 2 ems, right? So they're probably 2 em, right? That's not too bad. Maybe it should be like a little bit wider. Let's do like 2.5. Yeah, that's almost square. That looks kind of nice, right? So there we go. Now let's see what else. So I like what I have here, but maybe it would be cool if the buttons and things were off on the right side and the text was over on the left, right? And we can do that with Flexbox. But Flexbox, let's give it a try, right? So really what I want to do is I want to find this thing that's ID list, right? So this is an ID name. So what I'll do is I'll say, okay, ID item list display flex. Actually, I made a mistake here. I don't want the item list. I want all of the child LI tags. So all the children who are list items, you're going to be display flex. And then I'll say, we'll just spell it out. So we'll say flex. This should be the default. Actually, I'll do flex direction row, right? And then we'll take a look here and see what it says, right? Oh, so now everybody's kind of in a row. Notice the text here is kind of aligned with the top. So I'll do align items and say center. Okay, so the align items is the cross axis. So flex direction is row. So when we align things vertically across the row, align items applies. And then this other property, justify content, will determine how things align on the row axis for us, right? If this was set to column, then justify content would apply to column, right? So right now, I'll just spell it out because this is actually doing this. It's like justify content by default is flex start, right? So again, remember, right now we're looking at the effect of align items, right? So in this case, when I set align items to center, these items should align and be centered with the buttons and the text field, right? And so that looks really good, and you can, you know, and that looks fine. But if I change justify content, I'm going to determine how these items align across, you know, horizontally. And we have a couple choices. We can say, you know, flex start, flex end. Right now everybody's over on this side. Maybe that actually doesn't look too bad, right? And you could also do, you know, space around or space between. This will look a little strange to me, like everything's kind of divided up. Really what I want to do is I like this arrangement, but I want to take this group of 1, 2, 3, 4 items and put those 4 items on the right side and take this element here and put it on the left. Flex uses or applies to the children, and right now this element has, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 children. So what I need to do is I need to make 2 children. One child that is this thing, and then one child that's the 4, you know, the 3 buttons and the input field, the 4 elements here, right? Okay. So, you know, I like the space between, but I really need to make 2 groups of things, right? So to make that happen, I'm going to go down here to our show items function. And this is the group of things that should be on the left side. And then these 4 elements here are the elements that should be on the right. So what I'll do is I'm going to use a span here. And then I'll surround this thing in the span. And then I'll make another span here and surround all of these guys with this other span. Okay? So now inside each list item we'll have 1 child and a second child, right? And then let's take a look at that, right? Oh, there we go. So now all these guys are on the left side and these guys are all on the right, and that's looking a lot better. You know, if this kind of gets longer, you know, if we had a whole bunch of items here and let's set this to 199 apples, right? So this could get longer and it could kind of move into here, but these will stay even, right? So that looks pretty good. Let's style as a last step. Let's style the total element at the bottom here. So I'd like to put a line above this so it kind of looks like we're totaling everything up, right? Maybe we'll make the text a little bigger here. So our total element is in this element with ID cart total. So let's give that a style. So it's an ID, so we use the hash symbol, right, the number symbol. And what we'll do is we'll say, you know, font size of 2M. And maybe I'll do a border on the top of 1 pixel solid. Oh, so that doesn't look too bad. Maybe a little bit of space right here. Maybe I should do something with this guy too. Maybe I'll leave that up to you guys to finish off the styles here. But and you know what we should do is we should do a placeholder on the price, right? That would be good. I'll leave that up for you guys. You guys probably already know how to do that. Give it a try. Maybe this will wrap up the video for the shopping cart. Feel free to ask any questions. I'll post a link to my completed GitHub project or my completed project on GitHub, so you can compare it against your work. And if you have any comments, you know, feel free to post them. Okay, thanks for watching.